Is this the most underrated sports tourer? The Yamaha Tracer MT-07. Just like its hooligan brother, the Yamaha MT-07, on paper, this bike, I don't think will tick many people's boxes on the spec sheet. Spec sheet will say one thing, but until you actually get to ride a bike, it just goes out the window. It doesn't tick the boxes for people on the spec sheet, which is why I think this bike is definitely underrated and overlooked. What makes this bike better than what the spec sheet says it is? I think the reason this bike is overlooked, it's only got 74 brake horsepower, it's only got 50 foot-pounds of torque. The Yamaha Tracer 7, if we start with the front end suspension, it's got non-adjustable forks at the front. What you get from the bike from factory is what you have to deal with, which, you know, isn't a bad thing, because again, a touring bike isn't all about performance, it's just about comfort. And the stock suspension that Yamaha throw on this bike is, I'd say, pretty good for what it is. What Yamaha did and still do for their bikes is their Yamaha heated grip option. So these actually are Yamaha's factory heated grips from standard. So when you buy the bike, you could select the option for heated grips. So if we sort of go back a little bit, this thing basically is the MT-07, generation 1 MT-07. It doesn't have any electronics. It shares a lot of the stuff that the MT-07 had. So, you know, no traction control, no anti-wheelie. The only thing that it does have is ABS. You know, I suppose in a way you get that freedom, but as a touring bike, do you need that freedom? If you're going through some Alps and stuff like that and you get on the power a little bit quickly, you know, you might want that traction control to kick in and help you a little bit. This thing lacks electronics, I think, for a touring bike anyway. You know, it lacks electronics. It's something that I'd expect a touring bike to have, is the electronics, but unfortunately this bike doesn't have any. But it doesn't define the bike. Without the electronics, you can have fun on it. With the bars, slightly different to the MT-07. So with the bars, they're quite upright. If you look down here, you've got bar risers, and then you've got bars that swivel up quite aggressively, so you know, you've got plenty of height on the bars. In terms of riding position, it's quite a nice neutral position, you know, nothing too extreme. Another option as well for the bike is the hand guards, which again for touring is ideal, because you know that wind chill, especially if it's a little bit chilly, just takes the wind chill off your hands a little bit, and especially if you've got the heated grips on, it's a great duo. Them working together is a hand saver. On the front as well, we've got an adjustable screen, so if you just unloosen these little screws here, that basically allows the screen to be heightened and drop down again. At the moment, I believe it's on full adjustment, so it won't get any higher than that unless you purchase a bigger screen. Moving on to the tank, we've got a 17-litre tank, so again for touring, absolutely ideal. This bike fully filled up is 197 kilos. Nice little feature as well this bike has, specifically this one, but again you can buy from Yamaha when you purchase the bike from new, is a top box. So on the back, this has got a genuine Yamaha top box, which allows you to, you know, fit all your luggage in, your helmet when you're parked up, and there's also an option for panniers. Now this bike specifically has the pannier rails, but it hasn't got any panniers with it, but again for touring, ideal. Now going back to the weight, 195 kilos, 196 kilos, fully filled up without all the luggage on. For a touring bike, I think bang for buck, awesome. It picks up so quickly, which for a touring bike especially, I think with all the luggage on, when you're weighed up and you're nice and heavy, this bike is wicked. You know, it ticks all the boxes in terms of rideability in touring. You know, it's lightweight, it's nimble, it's got the bars on it, the suspension isn't too hard but it's not too soft either. It's a nice little in between, which I think is great for this bike. A nice little key feature this bike has is it's an A2 compliant bike, so again easily accessible. So for the younger generation that are wanting to go out and do a bit of exploring, you could do it on this thing. So in terms of competitors, this bike has got, it's in, again, same as the MT-07, a pretty competitive class, the middleweight sport touring class, which I'd say is a very competitive class at the moment, especially in this day and age. So you've got the V-Strom 650, you've got the Versys 650 and the NC 750X. Now if we go back to a minute ago where we were saying about the weight, this bike is actually the lightest out of all of them. The rest of them are 200 kilos plus. This thing is under 200 kilos fully fueled up. So I think again for a touring bike, when you start piling the weight on, it makes this bike just a little bit easier to ride. This bike is also, and again on the spec sheet, 74 brake horsepower. Some of you were probably thinking, well, you know, it's not going to be any good for touring, but out of its competitors, this has actually got the most horsepower. This has got 74 horsepower, where the rest of them got less than 70. So if you're looking to buy a bike, especially in the middle sports touring range, the Yamaha Tracer 7 is ideal. If you were to buy this bike brand new in 2017, it would have cost you £6,500. Now today is 2026, so you know it's dropped in value a little bit, and you could pick one of these up second hand, third hand, fourth hand for around £3,500, £4,500, depending obviously on the condition and the miles. I think value for money, second hand, this bike's fantastic. This bike's currently got 5,500 miles on it, and you know, less than £4,000. You can't complain. As a touring bike, in my personal opinion, I don't think it's one of the elite. However, for local touring, I think this bike does tick the boxes. Nipping around town, you know, I think it's all right. It's not too shabby. It's a little bit on the bigger side, but you know, it's doable. You know, you can ride through town on it. But for touring, I just don't think it's big enough. Don't get me wrong, it's comfortable to ride, which you'd want for a touring bike, but it just doesn't feel like you could ride to China on it. I think for local touring, absolutely ideal. For any long distance touring around Europe, or like say you were to go around America on it, you know, I just don't think it's got it, you know. But one thing this bike does do really well, and that's the fact of taking it all in. We're just riding here in the countryside, enjoying it, and you know, it does it really well. And I think that's what touring's all about. It's just about sitting back, relaxing, enjoying it. You know, you don't need to get there in a hurry, you don't need to speed there. Personally, would I have one of these bikes? Probably not, no. And just the fact that out there is so much more of a better option of a touring bike. Let me know what you think in the comments. You know, it'd be good to hear what you guys think, or if you are an owner of one of these and have had plenty of time on it before, it'd be interesting to see what you long-term reviewers or long-term riders or long-term owners of these bikes are.